For this tutorial, you will need a blank ring base like this one. Start with your clay colored. I'll show you how to do it. Just add some red acrylic paint as well as yellow acrylic paint to your resin clay. This is the type of clay we're using in this tutorial. It needs to be out of resin. The reason being is very simple. Resin clay hardens to a porcelain-like finish, meaning that it's not squishy or styrofoam-like the foam clay that you can find sometimes. It needs to harden down, and therefore we use resin clay. I will link all the materials that I used in the description box below, so you don't need to ride along. You can just open this up and you'll find all the materials and tools that I've used for this tutorial. The base color is very simple. All it takes is red and yellow acrylic paint, as you've seen me add to the clay. I used the Posca markers because the clay amount is so minuscule. I didn't want to bust out my acrylic paint tubes. But obviously you could also do this with regular gouache paint or acrylic paint. That's not an issue at all. So once you have your desired orange hue, you will take your clay and roll it into a tight ball. If you feel like the clay is drying out, just add a little bit of water. It will keep the resin clay nice and pliable and will also prevent any cracks. Next, we are flattening down the ball just slightly because you don't want it to get caught on anything while the pumpkin is hoisted on top of your ring base. Now grab a detailing tool. This is some type of blade-shaped plastic tool that I picked up from I think Play-Doh kit. They're quite accessible. You can find them anywhere. But as you can see, you will gently press lines into your squashed down oval shape to create the characteristic pumpkin grooves. And please do it with light pressure. You don't want to disturb the smooth surface of the pumpkin too much. And do not freak out if it's not super symmetrical or perfect. Real pumpkins, they are not perfect. If you've ever seen a real pumpkin, they are crooked, they have weird grooves, they are anything but factory-like. Alrighty, so next up, we're using green acrylic paint marker to create the vines of our little pumpkin. I recommend starting with the stem. If you create the stem first, then it's going to be easier for you to imagine where the vines will flow, because obviously the stem is the starting point from where the vines spread down towards the pumpkin. So just pinch off a small amount of the green clay and then gently form it into a slight triangle shape. And when you have the triangle shape, just elongate it a little bit and use your fingers to give it a little bit of a bend or curve if you're so inclined. Obviously, it's up to you how you want your stem to look like, but I like the little curved look. So this is what I'm doing with my fingers. And I will also go ahead and pinch off some more because, as you've seen, it was a little bit too big. It's just trial and error. See what you like, hold it next to your pumpkin before you finally attach it to the orange clay. Use a little bit of wood glue to attach the stem to the orange pumpkin. Make sure it's the one that dries down transparently. And then you just gently squish it on. Don't freak out if there's a little bit of glue spilling out. It will dry down completely transparently. So if a little spillage happens, that's totally okay. And as always, if you've seen any of my tutorials, you know how much I love my silicone tip tools to give more detail and a more precise sculpture to my clay. It's so much better than using your fingers because obviously the silicone tip tool is smaller and it also helps to blend out any edges. All right, now we're doing the vines. The key here is to achieve an evenly spread out or rolled out sausage. I started out with my fingers to give it a rough shape, but I will always finish up with an acrylic block. Those things are an absolute must-have essential for me. Go ahead and attach the vine with some wood glue as we've done before. But prior to this, depending on your design, you can just slightly curl up the vine like I've done so, just inwardly. Attach it to the glue blob and then use your silicone tip tool to finalize its shape. So I'm just prodding and nudging here and there to give it a nice curve. We're repeating the same step with the second vine as I've done before. And yeah, I was just thinking about the pumpkins that I'm currently growing in my own garden. And I have to say there's something magical about them. The vines that are curling everywhere, those crazy shapes. I just love pumpkins. There's nothing more that screams autumn to me than pumpkins and just watching them grow, waiting until they mature, cutting them off. And then I just put them on my mantelpiece or in front of my house, on the doorstep. It's such a cute look. I love pumpkins. In fact, I'm intending to make a pumpkin flower arrangement for my table, like a dried, what is it called? Dried flower situation, like arrangement for the dining table. This is actually something I'm planning to do in November. So there will be more pumpkins. If you love pumpkins, just stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the video, but it will most likely air around, end of October, beginning of November. Alrighty, so we're moving on with our vines. I'm taking even smaller pieces and rolling them with my fingers into thinner logs and then crinkling them up like so, just to give them that curly appearance. And I want them to be thinner and shorter than the initial top vines because they're just accents. I want to frame the face of the pumpkin almost like curls, like a curly hairstyle, if that makes sense. We're moving on to creating the face. I'm using a felt tip marker to carefully dot on some eyes, and then I will move on to making the mouth. This is always such a tense moment for me. I'm literally holding my breath when painting on my finished air dry piece because I'm so nervous to make a mistake. And here, actually, a lucky accident happened, or happy accident. I wanted to originally draw like a full curvature of a mouth, but then it turned out to be like little fangs, and I decided to leave it as such. I think it looks cute. And just to add some extra cuteness, I'm using my pink Posca marker to dot some pink cheeks underneath the eyes. Once everything has dried, and please make sure everything is fully dried, let it sit for a couple of hours, up to 24 hours, depending on how big your pumpkin has turned out to be. I'm glazing the whole sculpture. I'm glazing him for two reasons. Reason number one, I love the glossy finish. I think it complements the metallic finding, the blank ring that I have nicely. And also I want to make it last longer, so it is water repellent. Remember, air dry clay, even the resin type air dry clay that we use for this project, is not waterproof. Actually, Just a quick tip on the side, I just remembered that Puttyco has the Modena air dry clay that is waterproof, but it's so hard to get, and I think you might have to import it from Japan. So yes, there is waterproof air dry clay, and personally this is something I've been looking into creating, because as much as I love my air dry clay, there is something about it that you have to keep in mind, which is always moisture. And how do you use your creation? What is it going to be exposed to? And that is my ultimate next step, finding a way to have air dry clay produced that is waterproof and that I can add to my product assortment. But that's super far down the line, but it would be something I would love to create and, you know, have available to everyone. Air dried clay that is waterproof. Yeah. So our little guy is almost done. Let him dry, and then we can go ahead and arrange him onto our ring blank. So once he's dry, you turn him around and you use some super glue. Personally, I love the super glue that comes in a gel form and is shock absorbent. I will link it down below. Maybe you can find something similar where you live. And it's quite easy. You know, you just put a blob on and then you carefully put your blank on top. There will be spillage. Don't worry. You can always use a Q-tip or your silicone tool tip and just swipe it away. And here he is, our cute little ring. Let's try it on, shall we? There. Under real sunlight so you can see what it looks like from all the sides. I usually film at night. But here's the final reveal on my finger. I think it's so adorable. I love it. What do you think? There's more tutorials coming up, so if you like this, hit the subscribe button and the ring bell. Bye!